You would never imagine that a simple everyday food could actually help open up the arteries to your heart and your brain. But today I'm going to show you exactly how it works, why it works, and how adding just a small amount of this to your diet can completely change the way your body handles circulation, energy, and long-term health. Most people walk around with clogged arteries for years without even realizing it, and the solution sometimes isn't a big medical procedure. It starts with what you put on your plate. Now, the food I'm talking about is something most people ignore or treat as a small garnish, but it has natural compounds that support nitric oxide, reduce oxidative stress, and help your blood vessels relax so more oxygen and nutrients can reach your heart and your brain. Imagine your arteries working like brand new pipes, more flexible, more open, less inflamed. That's what happens when you restore the lining of your arteries instead of constantly irritating it with sugar, refined carbs, and seed oils. When your arteries are stiff, the heart has to work harder. You get tired faster, your brain gets less fuel, your hands and feet might get cold, your blood pressure slowly creeps up. But research shows that certain foods rich in natural nitrates, antioxidants, and polyphenols can actually support arterial dilation. And the funny thing is, this food isn't exotic, it isn't expensive, and you can find it in any market. I'm talking about beets. Yes, beets! The bright red root that most people skip. Beets are loaded with natural nitrates that your body converts into nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is like your artery's best friend. It signals the muscles surrounding your blood vessels to relax. When they relax, the arteries open, blood flows better, pressure drops naturally, and your brain gets more oxygen, which improves clarity, focus, and mood. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. Beets also support your liver. And when the liver is working better, your cholesterol is processed more efficiently. That means fewer clogged arteries over time. Most people assume high cholesterol automatically means plaque, but the real problem is inflammation, oxidation, and sugar damage. Beets help counter all three. The pigment that gives beets their deep color, betalains, is incredibly powerful at reducing oxidative stress. You don't have to juice an entire bucket of beets to get the benefit. Even a small amount can support nitric oxide production for hours. Some people prefer beet powder, others bake or steam them, and some add just a few slices to salads. What matters is the consistency. When you support nitric oxide every day, you support healthy blood flow every day, and when you support blood flow, every organ benefits. What surprises most people is how quickly they feel a change. Some notice better stamina, some feel warmer hands and feet, some notice a calmer pulse, and some simply feel clearer mentally because the brain finally gets the oxygen it needs. This isn't a stimulant. There's no crash, it's just supporting the natural pathways your body already uses. Of course, this only works if you also remove the things that destroy your arteries, mainly sugar, processed foods, junk oils, and constant snacking. When insulin goes high, inflammation goes high. When inflammation goes high, arteries stiffen. But when you pair a clean, low-carb diet with foods like beets, leafy greens, garlic, olive oil, and omega-3 rich foods, your arteries respond in a powerful way. If you've been dealing with low-energy brain fog or circulatory problems, start giving your arteries what they actually need to relax and open. Start small, be consistent, and allow the body to actually repair the inner lining that's been irritated for years. Once nitric oxide goes up, everything changes. So try adding just a little beet into your daily routine and watch what happens. Your heart will feel it. Your brain will feel it. And you'll finally understand how something so simple can have such a powerful effect on your circulation. Let your food be your medicine, because sometimes the solution really is that simple. Most people go through life believing that clogged arteries and poor circulation are simply a matter of age or bad luck, but the truth is far more interesting. What actually causes arteries to stiffen and narrow has less to do with cholesterol itself and far more to do with inflammation, oxidative stress, and the constant insulin spikes created by modern eating habits. When these three forces combine, they slowly damage the inner lining of your arteries, and that lining, called the endothelium, is the real hero when it comes to keeping your arteries open, flexible, and able to deliver enough oxygen to your heart and your brain. And here's the part that surprises almost everyone: the right natural foods can directly support nitric oxide production in your body, and nitric oxide is the compound your arteries use to open up, relax, and carry blood much more efficiently. When the endothelium is irritated day after day, it becomes less responsive, less flexible, and more vulnerable to plaque. Think of it like a brand new road that gradually cracks because of repeated stress until small debris fills the cracks. Over time, those cracks widen and the road becomes rough. That's what happens inside an artery. The root problem is not the cholesterol floating around, the problem is the inflammation that makes the cholesterol stick in the first place. When the endothelium is healthy, flexible, and loaded with nitric oxide, cholesterol flows right past without causing trouble. But when the endothelium becomes inflamed due to sugar, processed foods, and high insulin, even normal amounts of cholesterol can become an issue. Insulin is one of the major drivers of arterial stiffness. Every time you spike insulin through constant snacking, sugary foods, refined carbs, or highly processed meals, it creates a chain reaction inside your blood vessels. High insulin thickens the muscular wall of the artery. It also raises inflammation and reduces nitric oxide availability. When nitric oxide goes down, the arteries tighten. When they tighten, the heart has to work harder. And when the heart works harder, blood pressure rises. Many people think they're dealing with high blood pressure because of stress or age, but in reality, the deeper issue is that their arteries simply can't relax the way they're supposed to. Oxidative stress adds another layer to the problem. This is what happens when your body produces too many free radicals and doesn't have enough antioxidants to keep them in check. Free radicals attack the lining of the arteries, creating microscopic damage. The body tries to repair that damage, and in the process, plaque begins to form. So oxidative stress isn't just about aging. It's about how quickly the inside of your arteries lose their ability to function normally. The foods you eat either add to oxidative stress or help protect you from it. Sugar is one of the biggest contributors because it binds to proteins in your bloodstream and creates what are known as AGEs, advanced glycation end products. These compounds literally age your arteries from the inside out and make them stiff. Inflammation is the third force behind artery problems, and it's one of the most misunderstood. Inflammation is the body's natural defense system, but constant, low-grade inflammation caused by poor diet, stress, and lack of nutrients is like having a fire that never goes out. Over time, that fire slowly damages the artery walls. When the artery walls are irritated for years, the body tries to protect them by placing a layer of cholesterol over the damaged area, not because cholesterol is the villain, but because the body is desperately trying to patch the irritated spot. But that patching system only works if the inflammation stops. If the inflammation continues, the plaque builds up and the artery becomes more and more narrow. This is where natural foods play a powerful role. Certain foods actually help the arteries produce and preserve nitric oxide, reduce oxidative stress, and lower inflammation all at once. That combination directly helps arteries open naturally. Nitric oxide is the key molecule that tells your blood vessels to relax. When nitric oxide is high, arteries widen. When it's low, arteries tighten. The aging process, poor diet, and insulin resistance all lower nitric oxide, which is why so many people notice cold hands and feet, brain fog, fatigue, and shortness of breath as they get older. What they're really experiencing is reduced circulation caused by arteries that can't open the way they used to. Many people search for complicated solutions, expensive supplements, or medications, but often the foundation is much simpler. When you start eating foods that support nitric oxide, the body begins to repair the very lining that controls arterial flexibility. You're not forcing the arteries open with a stimulant, you're restoring the natural pathway the body uses to regulate blood flows. Rich in natural nitrates, antioxidants, and polyphenols directly feed this pathway. Natural nitrates, unlike synthetic nitrates found in processed meats, are converted by the body into nitric oxide in a safe, efficient way. These are the nitrates found in leafy greens and especially in certain root vegetables. Another major benefit of natural nitric oxide boosting foods is that they nourish the mitochondria inside the endothelial cells. Healthy mitochondria mean better energy production inside the artery walls, and that increases their ability to stay flexible. Damaged mitochondria, on the other hand, make the arteries sluggish and unresponsive. Many people don't realize that arterial health is directly linked to cellular energy. When your cells lack energy, they can't repair themselves. And when they can't repair themselves, the endothelium becomes worn out and less efficient. There's also a strong connection between insulin resistance and nitric oxide. When insulin stays high for too long, your body becomes less sensitive to nitric oxide signals. So even if your arteries want to open, they can't respond as effectively because the signaling mechanism is impaired. By reducing the foods that spike insulin, like sugar, bread, rice, fruit juices, pastries, and processed snacks, you automatically reduce inflammation and improve the ability of nitric oxide to do its job. This is why low-carb eating patterns and intermittent fasting have been so effective for circulation. They give the arteries a break from inflammation and allow nitric oxide production to bounce back. Another important factor is mineral balance. The body needs magnesium, potassium, and certain trace minerals to maintain relaxed, flexible arteries. When people consume too much sodium from processed foods and not enough minerals from whole foods, the arteries become tense. Magnesium in particular is crucial because it helps the smooth muscles around the artery walls relax. Without enough magnesium, arteries stay in a semi-constricted state, which again raises blood pressure and reduces blood flow to the brain and heart. Natural foods high in these minerals help restore that balance, and the arterial system becomes more responsive. When nitric oxide levels improve, circulation improves. When circulation improves, oxygen delivery increases. When oxygen delivery increases, your brain, heart, muscles, and even your skin start functioning better. Many people report sharper thinking, a calmer heart rate, better endurance, warmer extremities, and more stable energy levels simply because their arteries become more flexible. These changes don't require massive lifestyle overhauls. They often begin with small adjustments that feed the artery support system rather than constantly stressing it. The amazing thing is that the body is always trying to heal itself. If you remove the foods that inflame and irritate your arteries, and you add foods that nourish and support nitric oxide, your arteries can recover far more than you might expect. Flexibility returns. Stiffness decreases, blood flow improves, and the risk of long-term issues drops dramatically. Most people never experience this recovery because they never address the root causes, the inflammation, the oxidative stress, and the insulin spikes. But once those are addressed, the body responds quickly. Beets are one of those foods almost everyone has seen, but very few people truly understand. Most people walk right past them in the grocery store because they don't look exciting. They're earthy, they're a little messy, and many people only know them from canned versions served at old-school holiday dinners. But what's inside a beet can have a dramatic impact on your arteries, your heart, and especially your brain. And this isn't hype, this is simply how the human body responds to natural compounds that support nitric oxide, reduce oxidative stress, and help detoxify the liver. When these three systems are working well, your circulation naturally improves because your arteries become more relaxed, more flexible, and far better at delivering oxygen-rich blood to the areas that need it most. The thing that makes beets stand out from almost every other vegetable is their incredibly high content of natural nitrates. These are not the artificial nitrates used to preserve processed meats. These are plant-based nitrates that your body converts into nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is one of the most valuable molecules your body can produce when it comes to blood vessel function. It acts like a signal that tells the smooth muscles around your arteries to relax. When they relax, the arteries widen. When they widen, blood flows more easily. That means your heart doesn't have to pump as hard and the pressure on your vessel walls goes down. It's a natural way of supporting the cardiovascular system without forcing anything. People often don't realize how much their daily lifestyle suppresses nitric oxide. Aging suppresses it. Lack of movement suppresses it. High insulin suppresses it. Stress suppresses it. Inflammation suppresses it. Even having a poor balance of gut microbes reduces your ability to convert nitrates into nitric oxide. It's no wonder so many people experience poor circulation, fatigue, cold hands and feet, and even memory issues as they get older. Their nitric oxide levels steadily drop year after year. Beets help reverse that decline because they directly feed the nitric oxide pathway. After eating beets, many people experience improved stamina within hours, which is why athletes have quietly used beet juice for years to boost endurance. But beets don't just help nitric oxide. They're loaded with a unique group of antioxidants called betalains. These are the pigments that give beets their intense red-purple color. Betalains have been studied extensively for their ability to reduce oxidative stress, especially in the cells that line your arteries. Oxidative stress is what creates microscopic damage inside the vessel walls. Over time, these tiny injuries can develop into plaque. When betalains reduce oxidation, the endothelium, the delicate lining inside the arteries, has a chance to repair itself instead of getting worse. A healthy endothelium means better nitric oxide production, smoother blood flow, and less risk of plaque accumulation. Another important benefit of betalains is their effect on inflammation. Chronic inflammation is one of the biggest drivers of arterial problems. It keeps the arteries irritated and forces the body to use cholesterol as a patching mechanism. When inflammation decreases, the arteries have less need for that patching system. Beets naturally calm that inflammatory response, not by shutting it off, but by giving the body the antioxidants it needs to balance it. This is what makes beets so powerful at supporting long-term arterial health. One of the overlooked roles of beets is how effectively they support the liver. Your liver is the organ responsible for processing cholesterol, detoxifying chemicals, and managing hundreds of biochemical reactions that indirectly influence your arteries. When the liver becomes sluggish, inflammation goes up, cholesterol processing slows, and toxins accumulate. All of this affects the health of your blood vessels. Beets contain betaine, a compound that helps your liver break down fatty acids, produce bile, and clear out waste more efficiently. When your liver works better, the entire cardiovascular system benefits because there is less circulating waste irritating the arteries. Most people who struggle with circulation don't realize that poor liver function and high insulin often go hand in hand. When you consume sugar or refined carbs, your liver has to convert that excess into fat. Over time, this leads to fatty liver, which then disrupts everything from inflammation to nitric oxide production. Eating beets won't cancel out a high sugar diet, but when combined with a lower carb pattern, they help the liver recover much faster. As the liver clears up, triglycerides drop, HDL improves, and artery function follows. Another interesting thing about beets is their ability to help the body handle homocysteine. High homocysteine levels are associated with arterial stiffness and an increased risk of vascular issues. Beets contain natural compounds that support the methylation process, which is how your body breaks down homocysteine into harmless compounds. This process protects the arteries from long-term damage and helps maintain a more flexible vascular system. Many people don't even know their homocysteine levels are high because it's rarely tested, yet their arteries are paying the price. Beets provide the nutrients needed to keep that in balance. When it comes to the brain, beets are especially powerful because nitric oxide helps open the tiny capillaries that feed the brain oxygen. When those capillaries open, the brain receives more fuel. And when the brain gets more fuel, cognitive function improves. That's why many people notice better mental clarity, sharper focus, and improved mood after eating beets regularly. The brain thrives on oxygen-rich blood, and beets help deliver exactly that by supporting capillary dilation and overall circulation. It's like giving your brain a breath of fresh air. Beets also have a stabilizing effect on energy levels. Many people deal with fatigue not because they lack motivation, but because their cells aren't getting enough oxygen. Mitochondria, the tiny engines inside your cells, need oxygen to work efficiently. When circulation improves, mitochondrial function improves. This translates to better energy throughout the day without the crash you get from caffeine or sugar. This is sustainable, natural energy that comes from improving the body's internal chemistry rather than stimulating it artificially. Another advantage of beets is that they are incredibly versatile. You can steam them, roast them, shred them into salads, turn them into smoothies, or use organic beet powder if you need something more convenient. Even a few slices can significantly boost nitric oxide levels. The goal isn't to eat huge amounts, it's consistency. Just a small portion regularly keeps that nitric oxide pathway active. Some people worry about the sugar content in beets. While beets do have natural sugars, they also have a high content of fiber and antioxidants that slow absorption and minimize insulin spikes. Compared to bread, rice, fruit juice, or dessert, the sugar in beets is minimal and far less harmful. The benefits dramatically outweigh the small sugar content, especially when eaten with a meal that includes fat or protein. One more thing people underestimate is how beets support blood pressure. When nitric oxide increases, arteries relax and pressure drops naturally. This isn't forcing the blood pressure down, it's correcting the underlying issue. Many people experience a noticeable improvement within hours of eating beets because nitric oxide levels rise so quickly. For someone who struggles with stiff arteries, this can feel like a breath of relief. Beets are also rich in minerals like potassium and magnesium, which help maintain electrolyte balance. Potassium helps counter the effects of sodium and supports healthy muscle relaxation, including the muscles in the artery walls. Magnesium helps regulate vascular tone and keeps the arteries from staying in a contracted state. When combined with the nitric oxide boost from nitrates, these minerals create a powerful synergy for circulation. Over time, incorporating beets into your diet consistently helps maintain artery elasticity, lower inflammation markers, improve oxygen delivery, and support a healthier cardiovascular system. These benefits aren't just short-term, they accumulate. Every time you support your nitric oxide levels, you are helping your arteries repair and maintain themselves. This is one of the simplest, most natural ways to support heart and brain health using food rather than chemicals. A clean, low-carb lifestyle combined with artery-supporting foods can completely transform your cardiovascular health. Most people think circulation only depends on exercise or medical interventions, but the truth is your arteries respond far more to what you eat every day than most people realize. When you give your body the right foods that lower inflammation, reduce insulin, boost nitric oxide, and supply healthy fats, your arteries can begin to open, relax, and rejuvenate in ways that surprise you. It's not about quick fixes, it's about creating an environment inside your body where the vascular system can actually function the way it was designed to. The foundation of circulation is insulin control. When insulin is high, arteries constrict. When insulin drops, arteries relax. This is why low-carb eating has such a profound effect on people with high blood pressure, fatigue, brain fog, and poor circulation. Most people don't realize how often they spike insulin each day. Breakfast cereal, fruit juice, tea with sugar, bread, rice, snacks, cookies, crackers, and sweetened drinks. Every one of those spikes creates inflammation inside the blood vessels and disrupts nitric oxide. Over time, the arteries lose their flexibility, they stiffen. This is the beginning of reduced circulation, higher blood pressure, and lower oxygen delivery. When you cut back on carbs and processed sugars, insulin levels fall. When insulin falls, inflammation drops. When inflammation drops, nitric oxide increases. And when nitric oxide increases, arteries open up. Many people assume low carb is only for weight loss, but one of the most significant benefits is improved arterial function. You can feel the difference: warmer hands and feet, more stable energy, clearer thinking, and even better endurance because oxygen delivery improves. Pairing low-carb eating with certain foods amplifies those effects. Leafy greens are one of the most potent nitric oxide boosters. Foods like spinach, arugula, kale, and Swiss chard are packed with natural nitrates. These nitrates convert into nitric oxide and help the arteries relax. When eaten regularly, leafy greens help keep the endothelial lining healthy and responsive. They also supply minerals like magnesium and potassium, which are essential for maintaining normal vascular tone. Garlic is another powerful artery-supporting food. Garlic increases nitric oxide, reduces inflammation, and helps thin the blood naturally. It also lowers oxidative stress, especially in people who consume a lot of processed foods or seed oils. Garlic works by supporting the production of hydrogen sulfide, another molecule that helps blood vessels relax. When garlic is combined with leafy greens, the effect is even stronger. Olive oil is a key player when it comes to vascular health. Extra virgin olive oil contains polyphenols that reduce oxidative damage inside the arteries. These polyphenols protect the endothelium and improve nitric oxide signaling. Olive oil also lowers inflammation by reducing markers like CRP. Unlike seed oils such as soybean, corn, or canola oil, which are highly inflammatory and harmful to arteries, olive oil supports long-term cardiovascular health. Many people notice improved blood pressure simply by switching from seed oils to olive oil as their main fat source. Omega-3 fats from foods like fatty fish, flaxseed, or chia seeds provide another layer of arterial protection. Omega-3s reduce triglycerides, thin the blood slightly, and help reduce inflammation in the artery walls. They improve the fluidity of your blood, allowing it to travel through narrow capillaries more easily. Omega-3s also help prevent the oxidation of LDL particles, which is one of the biggest triggers for plaque formation. When LDL becomes oxidized, the body sees it as damaged and responds with inflammation. Omega-3s help prevent that damage so LDL stays in a more harmless form. Combining these artery-supporting foods with low-carb eating helps the body run on fat instead of sugar. When you're running on fat, Your body produces fewer inflammatory byproducts, you have more stable energy, your brain receives a steady fuel source. And since insulin is lower, your arteries remain more relaxed throughout the day. This is why people often experience better mental clarity, improved mood, and more stable cardiovascular performance when they avoid sugar and processed carbs. Another important part of this lifestyle is avoiding the foods that actively damage your arteries. Processed seed oils create inflammation, sugar creates oxidative stress, refined grains spike insulin. Junk snacks combine all three and are one of the biggest drivers of arterial stiffness. When you remove these irritants and replace them with whole foods, your body immediately begins repairing the endothelium. Intermittent fasting is another powerful tool that works together with a low-carb approach. When you fast, insulin drops even further. The arteries finally get a break from constant inflammation. Fasting also increases nitric oxide availability and stimulates autophagy, the process your body uses to clean out damaged cells. This includes damaged endothelial cells in your arteries. Many people notice their blood pressure improves significantly when they combine fasting with healthy fats, vegetables, and nitric oxide supporting food. The synergy between low-carb eating and artery-opening foods creates an internal environment where circulation naturally improves without forcing anything. When insulin is under control, arteries relax. When nitric oxide rises, blood flows. When inflammation drops, the endothelium heals. When liver function improves through better food choices, cholesterol becomes less of an issue. And when oxidative stress decreases because you're eating foods rich in antioxidants, plaque formation slows dramatically. This lifestyle also supports long-term brain health. The brain needs a constant supply of oxygen, and when arteries are flexible, more blood can reach the brain. People who eat low-carb, incorporate leafy greens, consume healthy fats, and support nitric oxide often notice improved memory, sharper focus, and even better sleep because their brain is finally getting what it needs to function optimally. Over time, the benefits compound, circulation improves, blood pressure stabilizes, energy becomes more consistent, mental clarity increases, and overall cardiovascular performance becomes smoother and more efficient. Many people are shocked by how good they feel once they combine the right foods with the right eating pattern. It's not complicated. It's about giving your arteries the environment they need to stay open, flexible, and healthy using real food instead of chemicals.